Whenever a video game releases that has a certain character to use, they usually come with abilities known as ults or ultimates. These are huge game changers that take a certain requirement to obtain. Maybe it's time variable, objective, or downright just getting kills. There are many ults to various degrees. It seems hard to balance these because of the huge variety, and to take account that these ults need to be good enough to make a real impact. But how much of an impact should these really make? They add to the skill ceiling and can create tense and fun moments. However, they also create situations that just aren't that winnable. The importance from this varies from game to game. For example, in Valorant, you can tell when opponents have ults, creating ways to play around it. Like if Chamber has an ult, you should probably not go to a lane where snipers can dominate, as well as just peeking differently in general to counter that. Sometimes, however, there is not much you can actually do. And I think a play everyone has gone up against is a defending team needing to defuse, but the attacking team has a Brimstone with a Molly and ult. Inherently, you still have a chance, but it's really not that great. Or even the moment that everyone saves their ults for a big push. To a sense, this does increase the skill ceiling, but by how much? Not just including ults, but tax too. Realistically, if you have to defend a site, what could you possibly do in this scenario? I'm not saying this doesn't look fun, and it does end up in a 3v3, but realistically, to use all of these ults and tax, you don't need to be a pro. If you're faced against a group of 3 homies, they could accomplish something like this in a casual scenario. The last thing to point out is that this only wins one round. In a game like Apex Legends, however, if a team uses aggressive ults like Horizon Infuse or maybe even a Newcastle wall being slammed on you, it can quite literally end your game on the spot. You only get one real life, and although getting knocked extends this to be more forgiving rather than straight up unaliving, it kinda hurts not playing the game with the rest of your team. Although these clips are pro plays, ults and tags can be combined in a coordinated team no matter the skill level. So while being able to combat ults and the various scenarios these can produce, the act of using ults don't need much skill at all. On top of this, ults can be used for the lack of skill in certain scenarios. Being able to heal faster or create instant cover like the new Lifeline ult. I'm not necessarily saying these keep the game unbalanced, however, ults are strong enough to change the real tides of the game. If you don't have one where the enemy does, it creates an inclined ground to walk on. Even in a game like BO6, there are field upgrades. Talking strictly about search and destroy, because that's my most experience in the game, there were rounds that I directly won because of the mix amp. There were countless times where I could easily clutch a 1v3 even if the enemy had ninja on by something I could get by round 2. Effectively using this twice in a game where a win is to 6 is 1/3 of the win, and that is huge. I kid you not, I could play super slow and just sound everything to get kills, even if people had this set up to not be heard like using Ninja, and I really didn't find the need to use any other field upgrade. Sure, it's fun using Sleeper Agent and the Morphin Injector is the next runner up, but the amp is miles ahead of everything else, and in this scenario, it won me so many games. In no way am I saying ults are dumb and should be removed. Each game seems to have a fun way of balancing by having other ults, being able to see the other ults, and so on. As long as there isn't an obvious overpowered ult, I don't see a real problem. However, I would love to see a game where they have specific characters or even just builds to use with the notion that they don't have ults that dictate the game. I think a game that accomplished this beautifully was in BO3, Black Ops 3 to be more specific. Back in the day, they had passive and lethal ults. Using a passive was attainable once, maybe twice a game when they didn't have such a significant impact like turning invisible, boosting score for objectives and kills, or teleporting back to where you were, and so on. And this could lead to one kill or even help lead to a crazy play that could give you many. They also had lethal ults, but it was hard enough to get these and people didn't receive them too often. One game that I'm excited for when they polish it all up is a new ballistic game mode in Fortnite. Each person on each team chooses one special item that is reserved for them. Nothing crazy overpowered, but something that can be used to adjust to a certain playstyle. Want to be aggressive and move around fast? Use impulse grenades. Want to use a rush rod and not die from a corner camper? Use a recon grenade. Want to clear a lane from a team pushing? Use just a regular grenade. And on top of that, they still have flashbangs and smokes for everyone to use. Although I wouldn't say this is a perfect setup, I would love the feel. All these can create a different style of scenarios, but each scenario still takes skill to compete in, and it's something that can be countered. Do ults ruin video games? Not necessarily, but in all honesty, it feels like there's a lack of genre that is between a Counter-Strike and Valorant. I may be wrong on this. There could be games that do this and I just missed them, but from what I've played and seen, I think this move Fortnite just pulled is genius. It feels like a refreshing middle ground between the strict shooter and one that feels like Heroes and Legends, which just have so many ults and attacks popping off at once. Just a reminder, Fortnite Ballistic is in its alpha. I die around corners constantly and sometimes it feels pretty jank, but it's been pretty fun all the way up to Diamond. When people start to get good, it was pretty easy to start noticing how unpolished the game actually was. I hope they just add a dash more of flavor to playstyles, but other than that, I really think they nailed it. I have no doubt this could grow into something more if they just put the time and resources into this game mode. If you haven't given it a try, I would highly recommend it. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video. I just wrapped up school, so I'll be trying to post a lot more. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to see my next spicy video, and I'll catch y'all later.